Mic check, mic check. All right. Good day, everyone. Welcome back to my channel, Dexter's Page. This is Sir Dexter, and this time we will be talking about the LDM2 Module 3A, designing instruction in the different learning delivery modalities. All right. So, according to my sources, and I guess you have heard already, that Module 3A is the longest module among the included module in the LDM2. So for this video, we will be having the lesson 1 or the first content of Module 3A. There are 3 lessons under Module 3A, and for this video, the length of the lesson 1 is enough to have its own separate video. For the lesson 2 and lesson 3, we will see if there are not long enough to have their own videos, then I will just combine them in one discussion video. All right, and of course, I would like to thank everyone. Maraming salamat po sa patuloy na pagsuporta sa aking YouTube channel. If you will like this video, do not forget to hit thumbs up. And also, if you find it useful for everyone, then you can also hit the share part dyan po sa below the screen. And you can share it in your social media accounts like Facebook. You can also sign in using your Gmail or Google account here in YouTube. If you are going to look at the upper right part of the interface of YouTube, you can see sign in there. After you sign in with your Google account or Gmail, then you can now hit the subscribe button, the red button below this video, and after that, a bell icon will appear, which you can click and select all to be notified on my future video. Again, maraming salamat po. Now, let's start this LDM2 Module 3A, designing instruction in the different learning delivery modalities. To start with, we will be having first, of course, the objectives or the module objectives. By the end of this module, you will be able to first differentiate the learning delivery modalities prescribed by the learning continuity plan and between the different types of distance learning modalities. You will also apply lesson design and assessment lesson design and assessment considerations for distance learning in light of the COVID-19 crisis. Another one is for you to create a weekly home learning plan to guide the learners as they independently study at home. Last but not the least, you will be able to create an individual learning monitoring plan to keep track of the progress of learners who lag behind in completing the prescribed learning tasks. Okay. So for this module, we will be having 3 lessons, as I said a while back. And the first lesson is about understanding the different learning delivery modalities. Lesson 2 is about designing lessons and assessments in the different learning delivery modalities. The last lesson is about guiding and monitoring learners in the different learning delivery modalities for your learning action cell, session 3A. As you can observe, of course, you now know which lesson have those objectives a while back for this module. The estimated time required to accomplish or to finish the module is 18 to 24 hours. LAC sessions are included in this activity, but it may be optional as determined by the LAC members under the guidance of their LAC leaders. So there should be consensus if this will be included. Again, this video is all about lesson 1, understanding the different learning delivery modalities. The other 2 lessons will be on the different videos or video depending on their length. And now we will now be starting this activity by having the lesson objectives. The lesson objectives for this understanding the different learning delivery modalities are the following. By the end of this lesson, you will be able to do the following 6 objectives. So we have 6, all right? So first is to define learning delivery modalities, or LDMs, prescribed by the Learning Continuity Plan, or the LCP. Describe the features of distance learning and its different types. Explain the guidelines for implementing the different types of distance learning, or DL. Okay, so DL stands for distance learning. Number 4 is for us to enumerate the minimum requirements for each type of distance learning. Number 5, rank the different types of distance learning in terms of their degree of difficulty to implement from the perspective of your school or division. Lastly, we will be able to identify targeted interventions for learners with special concerns to ensure inclusion in distance learning. So these are the 6 objectives for Lesson 1. What are the key topics and key concepts? Here are the key topics and key concepts for Lesson 1. We have the blended distance learning, blended learning, distance learning, face-to-face learning, homeschooling, implementation guidelines for distance learning, minimum requirements for distance learning, modular distance learning, online distance learning, TV-based instruction, and radio-based instructions. What are the needed resources for this lesson? First is the guidance on distance learning, non-negotiable minimum requirement for distance learning, distance learning matrix, supplementary handout on the blended learning delivery modalities. We have the Lesson 1, Activity 1, and Answer Key, Lesson 1, Activity 1, Answer Key 2, and of course, your study notebook, which is very important because almost all the activities with our LAC sessions, of course, need a study notebook. For the Lesson 1, Activity 1, Key Answer, or Answer Key 1 and 2, I will no longer be providing the answer keys, but I will be discussing the answers, all right, in this video. So we'll have the first activity now. Do a quick check of your knowledge of the 4 modalities prescribed by the Learning Continuity Plan. If you are going to recall all the learning delivery modalities, there are a lot of them. But according to your LCP, there are 4. Okay, so what are those 4? First, we have the face-to-face, the distance learning, blended learning, and homeschooling. So these are the 4 modalities. Now, you have to, in your own words, define each modality, write your own definitions in your study notebook. Okay, maybe I'll give you 1 to 5 minutes for this activity. But since we are doing a video, and if you are going to deliver this, I'm not delivering this in an actual LAC session, we will now be having the next part. Okay, but remember that remember to give time when you present this in your own LAC session. All right. Okay, so let's answer. So first we have the face-to-face learning delivery modality. So when we talk about face-to-face, we are talking about the traditional. Okay, so what is the traditional? Of course, the students will go to school, the teacher will go to school, and they will have the teaching and learning process together in a classroom setting or even outside the classroom, but still they are together in school. All right. For the new normal, you can still have this face-to-face learning delivery modality in low-risk areas or areas with a very low chances of spreading the COVID-19 or in areas with a very low number of cases, controlled cases, let's just say. So for those areas, they can still apply face-to-face. But in order for you to apply face-to-face learning delivery modality in your area, even though it's low risk, there should still be um, the health protocols, especially by the IATF. So even if face-to-face or even if having a low-risk area, you still have to obey or to comply with the health protocols set by the IATF because we still don't have the vaccine for COVID-19. Okay, so that's about face-to-face learning delivery modality. How about distance learning? So when we talk about distance learning, we have this what we call modular. So what are the modular type of distance learning, or what is this? This is simply giving a module packed with self-learning activities to our kids or to our learners for them to learn at home. Okay, there are two types of modular learning delivery modality or modular learning. It can be printed or the hard copy can be distributed to the learners or digital. Okay, the soft copy can be given or can be distributed to our learners like putting it in a CD or a flash drive, or you can send the soft copy via platforms like Messenger, Teams, Gmail, and others. Okay, again, there are two types of modular distance learning, or modules rather, the printed and the digital. Next, we have the online learning. So when we talk about online learning, of course, it requires internet connectivity. For this part, we will be using several platforms where we can still have the teaching learning process. For an example, you can teach using Google Meet, Zoom, Messenger, yes, video calls. You can teach using YouTube, actually. Because when we talk about online learning, we are not just talking about the real-time discussion between the learner and the teacher. Because when we talk about online learning, there are two types of online learning. First is the synchronous, and the other one is the asynchronous. Okay, so when we talk about synchronous, it has real-time conversation or communication between the learner and the teacher. So those are the classes. Um, those are the classes that you can find or you can do using Google Meet, Zoom, Microsoft Teams, and what else? Google Classroom, um, Messenger Room. So those are the things that you can use or platforms that you can use for synchronous, where the teacher will communicate with the learners in real time. So when the learner asks something, then the teacher will respond immediately. And the other one is asynchronous. When we talk about asynchronous, it is not real time. So to put it simple, teachers can give um, their videos online. So teachers will just discuss things, record it, upload it online like in YouTube or Facebook, and then share the link to their kids or to their learners. And then the learners will watch the discussion of the teacher in order to have the teaching learning process. But still it's online unless they will download the video. But downloading the video will also consume internet connectivity. Okay. For distance learning, we also have the radio and TV-based instructions. Radio and TV-based instructions, it is considered asynchronous, but it is not requiring, or these are not requiring internet connectivity, but frequencies like FM radios or the programs in your televisions. All right, so there is what we call the DepEd TV, which is functional already. You can watch DepEd TV where the lessons are from DepEd, from the curriculum, are being discussed on TV. So they cannot directly communicate with those who are discussing it, but still, children will listen and children will watch and children will learn. And this is one of the best weapon we can have for distance learning. We are going to hope for the learner's honesty because we do not monitor them while they are learning. Most of this distance learning delivery modality are independent learning. Even having the online class, at the end of the day, you will be giving an activity which will they answer at home. So we wish to have honesty from them. All right, so that is about distance learning. Now we have blended learning, any combination of learning delivery modalities. For example, a combination of face-to-face and modular, a combination of homeschooling and face-to-face, and other combinations that you might think applicable in school when it comes to learning delivery. Okay, so once you combine or once you have two or more learning delivery modalities, we consider that as blended learning. Last one, we have the homeschooling. Homeschooling is not as simple as we think. Okay, so at first you will ask yourself, what is the difference between homeschooling and modular? The learners are at home. They are just learning on their own or with their parents. So what is the difference? When we talk about homeschooling, it is facilitated by a qualified person, meaning the child or the learner stays at home, learns at home, facilitated by a qualified guardian, qualified parent, or qualified teacher or facilitators who have undergone significant trainings on the subjects or on teaching. Okay, it's not just you have someone at home teaching you or the learner have someone at home teaching them their lessons. You cannot consider that as homeschooling already, unless those who will be facilitating the learning, the teaching and learning process are trained persons on that craft or on that field. Okay, so that is about homeschooling, and these are the four learning delivery modalities prescribed in the learning continuity plan. Okay. Next part will be which of the LDMs or learning delivery modalities do not have face-to-face learning component. Write your answer in your study notebook. And then later on, you will be discussing your answer in the LAC session. So again, since this is a discussion video, the time for the discussion about the answer of participants on this question, which of the LDMs do not have face-to-face learning component, um, will be under the discretion of the facilitator in your LAC session if you are going to present this one in a LAC session. All right? So let's proceed to the next one. The next one is the activity 2. Read the documents or 2 documents, guidance on learning, on distance learning and non-negotiable minimum requirements for distance learning. As you go through the readings, complete the distance learning matrix and share your completed matrix to your next LAC session. Your goal is to, what's this? Come to a shared understanding with your peers and the different distance learning modalities and their defining features and requirements. I'm sorry. Okay, so note that when the vaccine is already available and face-to-face will be allowed by the Interagency Task Force or IATF, And by the local government unit or LGU concerned, any of the distance learning modalities may be combined with face-to-face learning to come up with blended learning. So that's what I said a while back. Learn more about blended learning in the supplementary handout and blended learning delivery modalities. So these documents, these supplementary handouts will be provided to you by your LAC facilitator. And for you to have an idea, this is what we call the LDM Module 2 Activity 1 Distance Learning Matrix. Okay, so we are now in Activity 2, but according to my sources, this is an example of a distance learning matrix. So we have the distance learning modality. We have an example here, the modular distance learning or MDL. Distinguishing feature, learning modules, hard and soft copy. So hard copies for the printed, soft copy for the digital form. Essential resources, computer, software, printer, paper, ink, photocopier, DepEd, the most essential learning competencies, compliant work, activity sheets, modules, learning, evaluation materials. So these are the things that you need in order to um, execute this distance learning modality, which is modular. Now, what is the role of the teacher? Okay, the teacher is, okay, we have the learner, the role of the teacher as learner facilitator or as an assessor. Okay, so your role as a teacher is to be the learner facilitator and assessor. Role of parent or household member, tutor, coach, learning module liaison. So they will be the one to get the module from the learning community or centers. Okay, or community learning centers rather, and they are the ones who will return the modules to community learning centers to be recorded and checked by the teachers. Okay, again, the role of parent or household member is not to be a teacher. Okay, they can coach, they can tutor, and of course, they are the liaison, but not as a teacher. Now, what is the role of the school? The role of the school is to be learner facilitator or assessor, command center. Okay, so command center meaning the orders will be coming from the school, whether what kind of distance learning modality, what are the rules or the policies that needed to be complied by the members of the community in order for this learning modality to be successful. Also, school can be a community learning centers for those who live near the school. Main distribution retrieval hub, recording, and archival. Okay, so even if we have this learning or community learning centers, for example, barangay hall, okay, even if the modules are returned to the barangay hall, it will not stay there. The teachers will not go to barangay hall and um, get the modules from which the parents return or which the guardians return to the barangay hall. Instead, after returning the modules by the parents or guardians to the barangay hall, the barangay officials will now bring those modules to the school. Okay, so the setup may be the barangay officials will disinfect the modules before returning that to school, or maybe they will return it to school and then the school will disinfect the modules. Okay, so this is just an example of distance learning matrix. Now we will have the activity 3. Rank the distance learning types, modular distance learning delivery, online distance learning, the TV-based instruction and the radio-based instruction, and the blended from the easiest to the most difficult to implement. Give the reasons for your ranking of each. Replicate the following table and write your answer in your study notebook. So this is the table that you will replicate and you will write in your study notebook. Be prepared to discuss your ranking to your next LAC session. And also, in order for you to rank this, you need to consider the availability of resources, the capability of the community, the school or the division, and other things in your area. Okay, you are not going to use your own um, experience, but instead the capability of the area of the school. All right, and the community, of course, you still also have to consider that. Instead of having your own thoughts and ideas, make your considerations or make the factors you need to consider um, in real life or being experienced in your area. All right, and that way you can now rate the different um, distance learning modality, which is okay. So the easiest one can be the one which will be implemented in your school or division. Okay, so that's it for activity 3. Again, be prepared to discuss your ranking at your next LAC sessions. And we have, all right, so this one is activity 4. So I just forgot to change 3 into 4. All right, I'm sorry for that. Think about groups of learners in your school or division who might require special consideration to be able to participate in distance learning. Describe what targeted interventions you would develop to include them. Listed below, okay, or on the right part, because actually the informations in this PowerPoint presentation was from a PDF in a portrait layout. So since our PowerPoint presentation is in landscape, I just made it or arranged it in a way that it will be presentable. Okay, so listed on the table, presented table, are the examples which may be relevant to your context. Add others as appropriate. Okay, so write down your answers in your study notebook. This time still, you will be using your study notebook and share your ideas at your next LAC session. Okay, so we have this table. So how will you use this? Of course, we have the group of learners and the targeted intervention. For example, you are going to use the modular distance learning delivery modality. So you will be giving out modules. But what if you have students who have difficulty in reading? So what will you do as the intervention? What if you are teaching high school learners and then their parents graduated from elementary only, so they have, low level of knowledge when it comes to those topics that you are giving out? How can they assist their child in accomplishing the module? Now, the purpose of this activity is for you to think of an intervention in order to help the learner um, not to be left behind. Remember, no child left behind. So this is the final activity or activity 4 for lesson 1 and our module 2 or module 3 rather 3A, distance learning delivery modality, about distance learning delivery modality. Okay, so well done. You have completed lesson 1. You may now proceed to lesson 2. All right. So thank you very much for listening in this video and watching, of course, the presentation. Again, if you like the video, do not forget to hit the thumbs up button below the video. If you think this is useful, you can also share it. We also have the share function there below. And you can also sign in with your Google account or Gmail on YouTube and hit the subscribe button. When the bell icon appears, you just click on it and select all to be notified. Especially, you will be notified when I upload lesson 2 and lesson 3. Okay? So, thank you again. Thank you so much. And for if you want to request a copy of this presentation, just put your email address in the comment section below. Also, if you want to request some content for me to feature here in my channel, you just comment your ideas below. Thank you so much, and um, We will see you again on my next video. Thank you so much.